terrorist. And I was certainly of the view that we had to carry on in that endeavour. But you're absolutely right. That was a huge problem. And the interesting thing to me, if you look round the world, it's a problem for all nations in this situation dealing with this new type of terrorism. If you take, because I spend a lot of time out there now, obviously in the Middle East with the Israel-Palestine question, it's a constant problem for Israel. They get attacked. They then use great force in retaliating. Before you've gone 2 weeks, they're the people that have started it all. If you look at the difficulties that India has, or Russia and Chechnya, or...
Well, I mean, it's undoubtedly true that the nature of the response to this sort of insurgency makes a difference to it. And we can talk about these other cases. The problem that you were in at the time is that the forces available to the coalition were insufficient to get a grip on it, and that the methods that they therefore would have to use in order to impose themselves militarily would be much more likely to cause civilian casualties than they would have done if you had had far more forces properly trained to start with.
Obviously, this wasn't the issue down south, but...
That's the other issue for April 2004.
Yeah, but I think you've got to look at this question very carefully, because I think I would put it in a different way. And I think if you look at how the surge actually worked in the end, it worked because you had a political... In fact, it really worked for 4 reasons, the surge.
I mean, I think the surge worked in very different political circumstances than those obtaining in 2003.
Yes, but that's my point in a sense, that if you analyse why it worked then, 2007, and in 2004 it wasn't working, then that's the question. What is the difference?
It worked because you had forces that were trained for the job, they had a doctrine that was appropriate, and the political conditions, including, you've indicated, the exasperation of the Iraqis with the violence, helped. But in 2003-04 it was different. Let me just stay in April 2004. You've also got the Sadrist uprising. You've got, we had considered the Shia areas more likely to be settled, and you've given some indication of this as well. So now we're starting to find, even there's violence taking root. And this, again, must have been a really serious concern to you, because this is where the British forces were.
Yes, absolutely. And what was very clear was that, as I say, this influence of Iran in the situation was growing. We debated a lot what to do with Muqtada al-Sadr. Did we try and reach out to him? Well, I think we tried to make certain approaches there. Did we try and arrest him? There was an issue there. Would that provoke more violence? This is why these things become really, really difficult. But, sorry, I didn't mean to sort of take you out of your time zone when looking at the surge.
No, I think
the reason I think it's so important, because it's a real lesson out of this, is that you see, you are bound to take a certain amount of time to win this battle. Because essentially what happened in Iraq, and I tried to explain this to people before, is you had one conflict, which was the removal of the Saddam Hussein regime, and that was over pretty quickly. You had the aftermath, which was very difficult. But then what started to happen in 2004, 2005, and then with full on in 2006, first half of 2007, is you had a metamorphosis into a different type of conflict, where you were fighting, yes, a certain amount of indigenous insurgency, but with these external factors coming in. Now, in the end, what did we need? We needed 4 things to defeat this. And 2 of them take time. Yeah. One is we needed the political buy-in. The second is we needed to build up Iraqi capability. The third is we needed, as you rightly say, Sir Lawrence, the right troop configuration. And the fourth thing is we needed to be prepared to stick at it and to indicate clearly that we were going to stick at it until it was done.
And you've taken us again 3-4 years further on, and you've indicated what happened in those 3 years. Let me just the final aspect of this month, April 2004, which was the revelations of what had happened at Abu Ghraib. What was your reaction when you saw the photographs of the conditions inside the prison?
Well, I was shocked and angry, as anyone would be. Shocked because it was wrong, and angry because of the damage I knew it would do. And, you know, you mentioned earlier the media part of this and Al Jazeera. The truth is we were fighting a constant battle against people utterly misrepresenting us, our motives, what we were trying to do. And obviously these pictures and the abuse of prisoners was going to be vital propaganda for our enemies.
Had you been given any advance warning by the Americans that these revelations were coming?
Well, I think everyone was taken by surprise, including in the White House.
But there was knowledge from January that something awful had been going on there.
I'd actually appointed Anne Cleward as the human rights advisor, and we made a real effort, in fact, to try and say, look, things are going to happen differently. So you know, there's no excuses for it. It's completely wrong. The most important thing was that it did damage to our cause. On the other hand, and it is right to say this, and I said this at the time, the activities of a few within the American forces who need the British forces shouldn't take away from the fact that the majority of American and British forces were doing a magnificent job in incredibly difficult circumstances. And were doing that job for the Iraqi people and protecting them and helping them.